Hello, my name is Charles Martin. I'm with Literati Press. We are not doing a reading today. Instead, we're going to do a little bit, talk a little bit about what we're doing in the middle of a pandemic and how we're trying to keep the truck rolling.
I'm April Marszewski. I'm married to this guy.
Ba-boom. So April actually had some questions that she was asking me before that she thought might be good to actually send it out to the general public. So,
Yeah, he has a million things going that I feel like people don't know about, and I think that it would be interesting. So, what, how are you running a bookshop during the pandemic, and why do you think that's important?
well, one of the interesting things about that a lot of us that run bookshops have been talking about in the kind of the background is how we got classified as essential employees, and none of us feel like that is correct. But all of us want to keep moving, and basically what that means is we could technically, legally, have opened up the bookshop to the public at any point and been in the right, given the orders and directives. But we also feel like our customer base, we have very close relationships with them, so it's important for us not to put them at risk. So with that said, what we tried to do was move as much online as we could and ramp up our efforts to make our online website much more engaging and easy to navigate. We got bookshop.org going with American Booksellers Association. We figured out how to do delivery with Pedal Exchange, and sometimes we just truck it out there ourselves. And really emphasize how much we curate our collection. Mm-hmm. So if you're not able to come into a bookstore, you can still know that we're not just bringing in anything that looks pretty, has a good cover. We're going after stories that really fit our ethos. It's been a little clumsy because it happened so quickly, but we finally got to the point where we kind of figured out how to do this, and hopefully, as our shop opens again and we can start bringing in customers, we've attracted some more customers from outside of the Oklahoma City area, and we're starting to do orders around the country, and we're hoping to sustain that energy with the Literati Press brand.
Have you heard any stories from people who have bought books during the pandemic about how they're using the books or why they're buying from you?
A lot of the orders that we've gotten have been parents who have found that their kids now that their kids aren't at school all the time, they're doing their work online, they're finding they have a little bit more time for reading. And there's definitely going to school and getting the interaction with the other kids is important for development. But this is a unique window where the parents are able to the kids are interested in reading in a way they haven't been before, because they've just got so much spare time and they can't just go out to parks and things like that. So there's a lot of children really engaging with the written word that haven't really before, or their interest is really spiked. So a lot of parents are coming to us and saying, okay, they're reading, what other books can we get them? This is what they're reading right now, this is what they've engaged with, what else is out there?
What genres or different types of books have you recommended, for example?
So a lot of the middle grade readers, a decent amount of fantasy, a lot of comics, a lot of graphic novels, because
don't you call that the gateway drug to...
Yeah, sequential art in general is the gateway drug to literacy, because it's a little bit easier to read. You can sit there, you can finish a story in 15 minutes or an hour, and it gets you used to the idea that you're a reader, that you enjoy reading. And then at that point, if you read comics, eventually you will venture out to novels. So for parents or for just normal grown-ups that are trying to get in the habit of reading graphic novels, they're such a great way to start. Mm-hmm. And I think eventually everyone will be a hybrid reader, so you'll read a little bit of fiction, you'll read a little bit of nonfiction, you'll read a little bit of graphic novels or sequential art.
Yeah, I've started doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, not extensively on the graphic novel side, but I mean, I read a few 5 years ago, and the more I've gotten to know you, I've read more and more, and they're great. There's really good stuff out there, and I don't consider myself like a comic book reader.
Yeah. James, our morning guy, he started reading comics whenever he started working here. and it was really fun to watch him kind of develop into a comics reader, because at first he started like, I don't know how to read comics. It's like, well, here's a couple of things just to get started. And he would come and ask me questions if he's reading things correctly, because he's, you know, really, really well read. But I think he's, you know, kind of getting into different waters than what he was normal. And so he was really cautious to make sure he was doing it correctly. And now he's, you know, really adventurous and getting sequential art, and he's still crushing, you know, fiction, you know, faster than anyone. So
yeah, I think it's also good to know that, I mean, just like any book, like I'm not gonna like every graphic novel out there. Like I tried one that I didn't like, but there's others I love.
Yeah, there's such a wide range now, because there came a tipping point whenever the comics industry had been just riding on the traditional comic book reader for so long, and then you had a few books, important books, come out like Saga, Nimona, and Lumberjanes,
Okay.
Noelle Stevenson, who
Oh,
you read.
yeah, she's so good. Yeah.
And Fun Home, and all of a sudden you had all of these very specific archetype of the comic book reader. You have people from way outside of that starting to come in.
I read Craig Thompson with Blankets.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Yeah, Craig Thompson's fantastic. And because of that, the comic book world has grown. The readership has grown. There's, you know, shrinkage. The written word is challenged in all fronts, you know, and it has been for so long. But the expansion of who comes into a comic book shop now or looks for sequential art at bookshops. And if you go to bookshops, just about every bookshop now has at least some section. It's just, it's cool. Widened, and it's a lot of fun. And now the stories are reflecting that. So you have stories coming in from all angles. So if you're a fantasy reader, if you're a horror, if you like just literary character-based stuff, it's all out there now. And there's so many good stories being told.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what would you, getting back to the pandemic, literati in the time of the pandemic, what would you say your mission is overall, and how has that changed, or how have you interpreted it during this time?
So the bookshop was an outgrowth of our publishing company, which has always been about promoting good storytelling within Oklahoma and trying to strengthen the literary community that's here. So in the midst of the pandemic, we have really doubled down on trying to push Oklahoma voices that we feel are really original, really doing really interesting stories. So for instance, with Paseo Farmers Market, we are featuring a lot of Penny Candy Books, which is a publishing company out of Oklahoma City that are doing really kind of topical, thoughtful children's stories that kind of as a launch pad for conversations on deeper subjects that you can have with your children, kind of an entry into various topics that children need to start being familiar with.
Yeah.
You know,
they're just
like,
beautiful too.
Yeah.
Just so well done.
Yeah, so then we've we actually changed our book club. James, the morning guy, does a book club, and we changed the next book we're reading to be Into Captivity They Will Go by Noah Milligan, which I think he's a fantastic writer, and he's based in Edmond. So that's another thing that has really altered our message. I mean, not altered. I mean, that's always been important for us, but something that we have kind of emphasized more, just because we can't just sit back and open the doors and let people come in and browse the books. We have to herald them a little bit more.
Really show people what you have.
Yeah.
You've always had an Oklahoma bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
So you've always tried to promote that, but that's good that you're doing that more.
Yeah, and as a publishing company, we've been representing Oklahoma voices for a long time too.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's nice because there is a growing culture of trying to promote really good Oklahoma stories within the state. Of course, the University of Oklahoma Press has been doing it for a long time. Long Girl Empire has been doing really great work. Penny Candy that I mentioned. So there's things are happening and were happening before, and I think now that we're so challenged by the pandemic, it's become more important for us to look for ways to really keep that momentum rolling, not lose ground.
Yeah. Well, I think beyond just the graphic novels that you're such an advocate for, you have an incredible selection of fiction and nonfiction, and we were just talking a few minutes ago about how much we want to read everything,
Yeah.
and there's not enough time. So maybe if you all have ideas about areas of the bookshop that you want us to show you, since you can't come in right now, let us know.
Yeah.
And we could give you a tour,
Really
highlight a few more titles from something you're interested in, like a genre, or I don't know, more Oklahoma authors, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, we'll do that. Maybe on the weekends.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. Anyway,
Good
that's
on that one.
yeah. So, literati in the pandemic, part 1. Happy Saturday, everyone.